The first time I realized something was wrong, I was in the middle of a video call with a high-profile client pitching a cybersecurity solution worth $50,000. 1 minute I was outlining the advantages of our intrusion detection software. The next I was staring at a frozen screen of Melanie Binks, mid-blink, looking like a stunned goldfish. After the third glitch, the client ended the call. Just like that, the deal I'd spent 3 months cultivating vanished. Furious, I stormed into the living room with my router in hand, muttering every technical curse I knew. I glanced at my network traffic monitor and saw the download speed spiking like a cardiac arrest chart. Something was bleeding my bandwidth dry. I dug deeper and discovered several unfamiliar devices connected to my network. All of them traced back to a single origin, my roof. That was the moment I muttered, "What in the freshly microwaved hell is going on up there?" I live in Rosewood Hollow, a neighborhood manicured within an inch of its life. The kind of place where people smile and wave while drafting HOA complaints about your mailbox paint. But even in this step-for-draft suburb, I didn't expect what I found bolted to my rooftop. 3 large, professionally installed Wi-Fi repeaters, humming softly like greedy little goblins guzzling my internet. At first, I thought it might be a city initiative, maybe a shared emergency signal system. But there had been no notice, no permission, not even a passive-aggressive HOA flyer stuck under my welcome mat. Just unauthorized tech hardware piggybacking on my home. I took pictures, recorded a video, and headed straight to the HOA office, my fury barely contained. Behind a cluttered desk sat Barbara Ellison, the HOA president and reigning queen of petty power plays. She was wearing a pastel cardigan and the smug smile of someone who thinks they're untouchable. "Ah yes, Mr. Morgan," she said before I could speak. "We were meaning to tell you've been selected as a central hub for our new community connectivity program." "Selected?" I snapped. "As in volunteered without consent?" She slid a crumpled piece of paper across the desk. It was a general notice, dated 3 months prior. Apparently, they'd posted it to the community board, a sun-bleached corkboard hidden behind the clubhouse dumpster. According to Barbara, the lack of response meant I had consented. When I told her that logic was both absurd and legally laughable, she waved a hand and chuckled. "Oh, come on, Daniel. You're a tech guy. You'll be fine." What Barbara didn't know was that I wasn't just some neighborhood IT consultant. I used to design classified network infrastructure for defense contractors. Now I consult for global firms and government agencies. I track cyber threats before they become headlines. And this woman thought she could hijack my connection for the neighborhood Netflix binge? I walked out without another word. Not because I was done, but because I was just getting started. First came surveillance. I mapped every MAC address using the rogue repeaters. I cataloged bandwidth use and traced device activity. The data made my jaw drop. Over a dozen homes were piggybacking on my network. Video streaming, gaming, file sharing, someone was even mining cryptocurrency. Worse, the repeaters weren't just stealing my data. They were wired directly into my home's electrical grid. They were stealing my power. I laughed. A long, slow, incredulous laugh that escalated into something maniacal. They really had no idea who they were messing with. I launched Operation Blackout. Phase 1. I designed a fake splash page, styled like a legitimate internet provider's update screen. I named it Skylink Enhanced. Anyone connecting through the repeater saw what looked like a mandatory policy agreement. Buried in the terms? A clause stating users agreed to a usage fee of 27 cents per megabyte beyond a daily cap. I tracked their traffic and captured digital consent. Then I created a shell company, Gridspan Connectivity Services. Invoices went out the next day. Nothing outrageous, $50 here, $120 there. Just enough to sting. The real gem? An invoice for $1,842 sent to the HOA treasurer, Paul Jenkins. He paid it without blinking. When Barbara received her invoice for $2,129, she lost her mind. She stormed into the HOA office demanding answers, accusing Paul of onboarding a shady provider behind her back. I watched the meltdown through a hidden repeater cam. It was glorious. The HOA retaliated with paper citations. 3 letters taped to my door: unauthorized rooftop equipment, non-compliant electrical routing, and public endangerment via unstable antenna deployment. Never mind they installed the hardware. That was my green light for escalation. I dug into the HOA bylaws. Their technology clauses hadn't been updated since the era of DSL. Ambiguous, outdated, and open to interpretation. I could bend the rules until they snapped. Then came my wild card, Gloria Mathers. Retired, quiet, a lover of gardening hats and a former FCC compliance officer. When I showed her the setup and explained the unauthorized install, her professional demeanor vanished. She muttered, "That's at least 6 code violations," and asked to see the specs. Together, we uncovered everything. The contractor had tapped directly into my breaker panel, bypassing permits and grounding protocols. With Gloria's help, I filed a formal FCC complaint. But I wasn't done. Phase 2. The bounce trap. A script on my smart home system monitored energy load. When traffic spiked, usually during peak streaming hours, the circuit flipped off for 10 seconds. Just enough to crash whatever they were doing. No breaker trips. No clues. Every time the repeater rebooted, it played a robotic audio. Network interruption. Please contact your provider. The neighborhood imploded. Forums exploded with conspiracy theories. Solar flares, 5G sabotage, government tests. Barbara issued a community-wide email blaming external cyber terrorists. Then came the emergency HOA meeting. I wasn't invited. Didn't need to be. I patched into the video call through their own repeater. Streamed it live to a closed Facebook group for fed-up residents. Barbara called me digitally hostile and accused me of sabotaging the community. I sipped tea while Gloria cackled beside me. The next morning, someone nailed an orange notice to my front door, 7 days to return my roof to community standard condition. 2 more citations followed. My offense? Visible cabling and non-uniform structural aesthetics. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. Meanwhile, I noticed a consistent spike on my energy usage dashboard. Digging deeper, I discovered the repeaters were hardwired, not plugged in, but cleanly spliced into my power system. A sealed junction box, painted to match my exterior, masked the theft. This wasn't mischief. It was criminal. Gloria and I compiled everything: timestamps, photos, logs, electrical readings. We attached it to our FCC complaint and included a demand for investigation. I implemented one final trick before dismantling the system. The repeaters would now broadcast a network named "Barbara Stole My Wi-Fi." Anyone trying to connect got redirected to a splash page reading, "Ask the HOA why your internet is garbage." Screenshots flooded the neighborhood message board. Memes. TikToks. One neighbor made a gif of Barbara's face over a burning router. And then I made my move. I proposed a new network plan to the residents. Direct internet access. High-speed. Transparent billing. No forced signups. Within 48 hours, half the neighborhood signed up. I became their de facto internet provider. Barbara tried to shut me down. Claimed I was forming a communications monopoly. Called the city. Reported me as an unlicensed ISP. Too late. Thanks to Gloria's connections and a little paperwork, Gridspan Connectivity became a registered vendor. Licenses. Insurance. Compliance. My operation was legit. Just to twist the knife, I filed a permit for a ham radio tower in my yard. It blocked 2 hours of sunlight from Barbara's prized hydrangeas every afternoon. Legal. Functional. Petty perfection. The story made the local news. Then regional. Then national tech blogs. Interview requests poured in. I turned most down, but the exposure ensured the HOA couldn't retaliate in the dark. The next community meeting was live-streamed. Barbara tried to deliver a rousing speech about order and decorum. No one clapped. Gloria raised a motion to remove her from the board. The vote wasn't even close. Barbara was out. The board dissolved the connectivity program, repealed the citations, opened the books. Residents were now able to vote on major decisions. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt like a community. I removed the repeaters myself, filmed it, tossed them into a trash bin with a satisfying clang. The video went viral. Barbara, now a recluse, eventually moved out. Her house sold quickly. The new owner? A retired IT professor and his daughter an online gaming streamer. They brought me a cake shaped like a router. Weeks later, I received a small box with no return address. Inside was a miniature trophy, etched on the base, King of Bandwidth Rosewood Edition. It now sits proudly on my shelf. This wasn't just about Wi-Fi. It was about boundaries. About standing your ground when someone assumes your silence equals surrender. And about proving that the best revenge isn't rage. It's a well-timed reboot. And a trophy. Definitely the trophy.